Well, here we go for the second day in a row. Ladies and gentlemen, Behind the Line proudly presents to you another exciting edition of The Woke! Turning on the Woke! This special episode is brought to you by the Boodle Soother. Are you suffering through a traumatic case of the bruised caboose? Are you experiencing the trauma of being fired and having your woke welfare expired? Do not be one of the several who allow the bruised caboose to prevent you from attending the Butt Bongo Festival. The Boodle Soother is an all-natural ointment capable of curing the most severe cases. It is highly recommended by doctors at Woke Memorial Hospital and comes in a variety of shapes and sizes. Mini tubes for beginners, mid-size for the novice, and the super-sized tube for the deacons turned prophets. Use promo code SOOTHE to receive 20% off your first tube. This is what happens when you base hiring decisions on diversity, equity, and inclusion instead of basing your decisions on talent. This is what happens when you hire someone based on sympathy instead of hiring them because they're qualified for the job. This is what happens when you hire someone who is desperate for attention instead of hiring someone who is dedicated to building and maintaining their audience. Sarah Spain is without a doubt one of the worst hires at ESPN. Well, Casey, who in the hell is Sarah Spain? Yeah, exactly my point. Sarah Spain has been collecting woke welfare at ESPN for over 10 years, and she is more unknown than the dump divers in the WNBA that she covers. Sarah, she got her start in media by auctioning herself on eBay, begging lonely men to pay to take her to the Super Bowl. She admitted that she did this as a desperate ploy to get noticed by the mainstream media. Now, short term, her plan worked. The attention she received from this desperate attempt at relevance, it eventually turned into a job at ESPN. But long term, the plan backfired. Checking enough woke boxes, preaching the good word, presenting yourself as the ultimate victim, that is enough to get you in the door. But eventually, there will come a point when you are expected to perform. There will come a point where you're expected to have actual talent. Unfortunately for Sarah Spain, she is incapable of giving an entertaining performance, and she damn sure lacks talent. If you haven't already, make sure to like and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at KC_BTL84. This career path of Sarah Spain, it is eerily similar to the career path of the originator of the term huge embarrassing failure, Bomani Jones. Matter of fact, we might have to nominate Sarah Spain for the upcoming second annual Huge Embarrassing Failure Awards. That is, if any of us remember she exists by December when I start taking nominations. January 2015, ESPN announced they were launching a new show on ESPN Radio. The show was called Spain and Prim. I didn't bother to look up who in the hell Prim was because 1 year later, show was canceled. January 2016, Sarah Spain, she launched a new show on ESPN Radio titled The Trifecta of Huge Embarrassing Failures. This show was a trio of women that no one's ever heard of. I have no idea what the hell happened to this show. The archives seem to have been erased by ESPN, but if I had to guess, it ended in huge embarrassing failure. After multiple failures co-hosting with women, I guess ESPN thought Sarah Spain would work better with men. 2018, ESPN makes another attempt to turn Sarah Spain into a star by teaming her up with some doofus named Fitz. 1 year later, Fitz, he managed to find a lifeboat and jumped his ass off the Titanic. For reasons unknown, Fitz rejoined the show in 2020. 12 months later, the Titanic officially sunk, and Sarah Spain's painful attempt at becoming a radio star finally ended. Now, throughout all that time, she was making appearances on Around the Horn, where she was a major part in the destruction of that show. The point is, just like her predecessor in Huge Embarrassing Failure, Bomani Jones, ESPN tried to turn Sarah Spain into a star. It never worked. And it didn't work because Sarah Spain lacks the main thing that you need to become a star in radio and television: talent. Now, to her credit, Sarah Spain does have skill. It takes skill to be on the radio, takes skill to be on live television. It takes skill to be able to speak eloquently in front of a camera. Sarah Spain is capable of doing all those things, but there's a huge difference between skill and talent. Skill is something you can acquire. Skill is something you can be taught. Most people are naturally nervous their first time speaking on camera, but over time, you can develop the skill and become more comfortable with it. Talent cannot be taught. Talent is something you're born with. You either have it or you don't. It's that it factor. It's charisma. Whatever the hell you want to call it, Sarah Spain, she ain't got it. According to Bobby Burek over at Outkick, Sarah Spain, she is no longer employed as an on-air talent at the worldwide leader in woke. Bobby, he reached out to ESPN yesterday after Sarah Spain sent a flurry of tweets about the Democratic National Convention this week. Check it out for yourself. Ooh, the DNC is amazing! It's so nice to see normal people instead of those orange freaks in the Republican Party. Excuse me? Normal people? Normal people? At the DNC? The same people who think men have a menstrual cycle. The same people who think men need unlimited access to Planned Parenthood. The same people who think women with beards are sexy. We are calling those people normal? The reason Outkick reached out to ESPN, they were wondering why Sarah Spain hadn't been suspended for violating their no politics policy. Last week, Sam Ponder was fired by ESPN. Now, a lot of people believe that the main reason Sam Ponder was fired is because she had the audacity to claim that women should be the only ones allowed to compete in women's sports. Throughout the week, Sarah Spain has been polishing the turd known as the DNC, trying to convince her lonely male followers that Cam Harris is their savior. With this being a clear violation of their no politics policy, Outkick wanted to know why ESPN failed to take action against Sarah Spain. To my knowledge, ESPN rarely replies to Outkick when they send a request for comment, but ESPN this time, they made it a point to let everyone know Sarah Spain was no longer an on-air talent at their network. Now, I am taking that as Sarah Spain is fired. Well, KC, that's not true. She writes for ESPNW, and she hosts a podcast dedicated to women's sports. Oh, yeah? Well, when I checked her bio page on ESPN's website, it was deleted. From what I can tell, the podcast, it's hosted through iHeartRadio. A couple of months ago, Sarah Spain, she pitched this idea for a podcast to ESPN. They turned it down. If I had to guess, the reason ESPN turned it down is because they knew no one would be interested, and they were right. I checked her numbers. No one is listening to Sarah Spain's garbage. According to her own website, Sarah Spain, she claims to be unfuckwithable. Now, this is one of the rare instances where I actually agree with Sarah Spain. She is absolutely right, because no one wants to work with her. Why in the hell would anyone waste money? Why in the hell would anyone waste their time working with Sarah Spain? Because the end result is always the same. Huge, embarrassing failure. ESPN wasted millions of dollars trying to turn Sarah Spain into a star. Now, in their defense, I would imagine that it is increasingly difficult nowadays for ESPN to find top tier talent willing to work at the network, which could be one of the reasons why people like Sarah Spain were allowed to collect woke welfare for so long. Me personally, I would never work at ESPN. I'm not saying I'm talented enough or qualified to do so, but I would turn down an offer to work at the worldwide leader in woke. Well, Casey, no, you wouldn't. If ESPN offered you a job, you would take it. Trust me, I wouldn't. Why would I work at ESPN? What the hell do I need ESPN for? Free promotion? How'd that work out for Bomani Jones? How'd that work out for Sarah Spain? Better yet, when is the last time ESPN created a homegrown star? They had to overpay Pat McAfee just to have a star on the network. Outside of Stephen A. Smith, name another mainstream star that ESPN created in the last 10 years. Go ahead. Oh, wait. Name one. Their podcast network, it is an unmitigated disaster. I have zero experience in the media. If you asked me how I got to this point here on YouTube, I couldn't tell you. But the dumbass you're watching right now, he outperforms most of the podcast on ESPN's YouTube channel. So if a no-talent doofus like me wouldn't work at ESPN, why would top-tier talent be willing to work there? They don't need ESPN. They can build their own platform and keep all the money to themselves, which is exactly what I'm doing. You no longer need the media to build your own platform. Think about it. Why would I give up my flexibility? Why would I give up my autonomy to take orders and direction from someone else? Half the topics on my channel, if I pitched those ideas to ESPN, they would say, no, no, no! If you have been watching this channel for a while, you guys already know I don't do well with bosses. I think we are reaching a point where these woke media corporations, they are starting to realize you cannot base hiring decisions on diversity, especially when it comes to on-air talent. Look at all the woke stars from 4 or 5 years ago, and look where they're at now. Has anyone seen Jemele Hill lately besides this lovely picture of her I keep on my desk? Where is Bomani Jones? There is not enough sides on the milk carton to fit all these missing faces. The only time Mina Kimes manages to make headlines is when she is arguing with conservative media and trying to turn herself into the ultimate victim. You guys remember Rex Chapman? Don Lemon, vanished. Joy Reid, struggling. Around the Horn, rumored to be canceled. The Star Trek virgin Mike Freeman, irrelevant and still a Star Trek virgin. After I publish this video, I will probably never talk about Sarah Spain again. And the only reason we are talking about her today is because I just needed a break from Cam Harris and politics. The business of mythical racism, the business of victimization, those businesses are bankrupt. Give me your thoughts on this. Although it's not 100% confirmed, it appears to me Sarah Spain, she's been fired by ESPN. Give me your reason. Was she fired for being too woke and ESPN wants to distance themselves from her? Was she fired for her complete lack of talent? Was she fired due to her long history of huge embarrassing failure? You tell me. Sound off in the comments below. Like, subscribe, share the video. Appreciate your support. Best way to contact me is by email at btlkc84@gmail.com, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.